Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So, have you ever listened to someone drop these massive, super convoluted academic words and thought, wow, they must be an absolute genius? Well, we're going to bust that myth wide open today, because honestly, all too often, people are just hiding behind those big words and dense jargon when they don't actually get what they're talking about. So, the core philosophy we're looking at today comes straight from Richard Feynman. He was a Nobel laureate in physics, which is incredible, but beyond his sheer genius in the lab, he was famous for something else entirely. He was an absolute master at taking insanely complex topics and making them understandable to literally anyone. For Feynman, complexity and jargon, they don't prove you're smart. In fact, they usually just mask a total lack of understanding. True mastery is always found in simplicity. Right, so instead of falling into that super exhausting trap of complexity, we are going to arm you with a totally new study strategy. And of course, it's named after the man himself, the Feynman Technique. This method is specifically designed to ruthlessly expose what you think you know versus what you actually know. It's a real game changer. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with number 1, the trap of complexity. Then, step 1, select a concept. Next, step 2, teach a child. Moving on to step 3, review and refine. And finally, step 4, organize and review. Let's get right into it. First up, section 1, the trap of complexity. So it is incredibly common for students and honestly seasoned professionals too to fall right into this trap. We hit a new concept, we memorize the dense jargon, and we just parrot those big academic words right back. But the second someone stops us and says, hey, what does that actually mean in plain English? We completely freeze. We literally use jargon to hide our own confusion. Recognizing this isn't just some neat psychological trick, it's a foundational learning strategy. In fact, this whole approach is adapted from St. Mary's University Learning Services. They realize that breaking out of the jargon trap is the very first step to genuine academic success. Moving right along to section 2. Step 1, select a concept. This is where the tutorial really begins, and it forces you to confront your baseline knowledge head-on. No hiding behind textbooks here. The crucial point is taking deliberate action. First, you need to literally open up a blank document on your laptop or just grab a physical piece of paper. Pick the concept you're trying to learn and then write down absolutely everything you know about it already. Just do a massive brain dump right onto the page. You know that dreaded panic of staring blankly at an exam? Doing this now makes sure you never feel that way when it counts. Okay, now here's a highly effective visual trick. As you go back to your notes or your book to learn more, add that new information using a completely different color font or a different color ink if you're writing by hand. Boom, suddenly your blind spots are staring right back at you. Once you look at that page and feel confident you know the concept, you're ready to move on. Which brings us to our third section, step 2, teach a child. This step is the absolute core of the Feynman technique. This is where we put your newly outlined knowledge to the ultimate test. If you have a younger sibling, you should literally go find them right now. If you don't have one handy, track down a friend who is totally outside your major or your class. Your mission here is to test your understanding by completely stripping away all of that academic language. You have to explain the concept, getting rid of all the jargon, using only words that a 12-year-old could easily understand. And trust me on this, a 12-year-old will be brutally honest with you if you stop making sense. Getting rid of that tangled web of academic jargon and forcing your explanation into a simple, bright framework, that is really hard work. It requires actual, deep comprehension. Think about it. If you can only explain something using the exact vocabulary you memorized from a textbook, you don't really know it. Like Feynman taught us, simplicity reveals depth of understanding. If you can translate a really tough concept into everyday language, that's when you know you've achieved true mastery. Let's see how this builds in section 4. Step 3. Review and refine. Now that you've forced yourself to simplify the idea, you need to formally capture it. Take that child-friendly explanation you just worked out and physically write or type it out. The very act of writing helps with reflection and really deepens the learning process. Plus, it provides another sensory input to help the info stick in your brain. Once it's written down, you have to ask yourself one absolutely crucial question. Does it sound simple enough, or is it still confusing? And here's the trick. Read your simplified explanation out loud. Don't just read it quietly in your head. Actually speak the words out into the room. Does it genuinely sound simple? Or if you're being totally brutally honest with yourself, is it still a little bit clunky? If you stumble over a sentence, it means you need to refine it again. And finally, section 5, step 4, organize and review. All right, this is the final stress test.
You've got a refined, simplified explanation written down. Now, it's time to take it into the real world. Let's dive into this final feedback loop. I want you to find a completely new person, someone who hasn't heard any of your previous attempts, and present your explanation to them. The key here is observation. Was your presentation actually effective? What specific questions did they ask you? What exact parts did they visibly get confused about? You then take their feedback and their specific areas of confusion and use that to go back and refine your explanation one more time. Their outside perspective acts as the perfect mirror to show you any last remaining cracks in your understanding.
And here is the massive payoff at the end of this whole shebang. Do not, whatever you do, throw that piece of paper away. You absolutely need to save that page or file. Why? Because you haven't just learned a single concept here. You have meticulously built the ultimate, perfectly simplified study guide for when it's time to review for your next test. And the best part? It's written in clear, undeniable plain English by the absolute best teacher you could possibly ask for, yourself. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to mull over. What complex topic will you simplify using the Feynman technique today? Listen, learning doesn't have to be this miserable battle against massive textbooks and totally confusing jargon. Just grab a blank piece of paper, pick a concept that's been giving you a hard time, and start applying this 4-step method right now. Strip away the complexity, completely ditch the academic jargon, and reveal your own true depth of understanding. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying.